All right, guys. So I wanted to take this time to revisit Star Trek Infinite. I made a video reacting to the teaser trailer and the gameplay reveal trailer, and there was a lot of good information in those, well, mainly in the gameplay trailer. But I wanted a little bit more information because even with the gameplay trailer, there were sort of few fundamental details that were actually revealed. So I've been looking around and I can't find too many things. There's the official web pages, the Paradox web page and website, and the Steam store page that have some details, but not very much. But I did find this really good article on Trek Central. It's the new Star Trek Infinite gameplay full reveal announcement. Uh, so I thought we would dive into this article real quick, try and sort of glean as much information as we could out of it. But yeah, let's just dive right in, I guess. So, as we sort of covered, there were the four factions: the Romulans, the Klingons, Federation, Cardassians. My main question, I guess, the main concern I had were minor powers. This article sort of jumps into that right away, minor powers, and basically the writer of this article worried, well, that there be much else beyond the main civilizations, but they do confirm the Bolian democracy, Bajoran Republic, and Betazoids are at least featured in the game. We have to assume that there's going to be more, especially because the Bolians and the Betazoids are both Federation members. So I guess the idea is if you're going to play the Federation, you're probably playing Earth, and you could probably assume that you're going to meet Vulcans. I don't assume that it's going to be like a multi-system starting situation. We'll probably have one system for each of the playable factions, and then expand out from there. They did mention here in the beginning that basically, just like Stellaris, as we sort of talked about before, this game is essentially Stellaris, but with a Star Trek skin. You use science ships to explore new star systems and make first contact with other civilizations, just like Stellaris. And you can make, you can construct new starships to bolster your military, make new science ships, or expand your influence in big systems by building stations. This is, your bread and butter for for Stellaris. And the main difference, I guess, would be the mission tree, which it looks like a sort of an import from Hearts of Iron 4, which Hearts of Iron 4 has a great like mission tree. So basically, every nation in Hearts of Iron 4 has like a unique mission tree. At least the main powers. I know they've had DLCs and stuff that add mission trees for smaller, more minor powers, minor countries, and stuff like that. So it'll be cool to see sort of what missions you can do for each faction. They do mention here the Federation has a mission that is build the Enterprise. So you could see something like maybe the Tal Shiar for like establish the Tal Shiar for like the Romulans. They're like military police or secret service, however you want to call it. Maybe establish the Emperor for the Klingons if there's some sort of like power struggle represented within Klingon gameplay. So those are all pretty exciting things, I think, to yet to be seen. Moving on, we do have sort of the question of like how all of the factions will sort of expand. Like the Federation, you would assume wouldn't really be able to conquer. The Prime Directive being like, for at least the next generation, that was like the key element. Pretty much all of their exploration was Prime Directive, where there's non-interference with other cultures. Um, so it'll be interesting to see if maybe like the Federation can only annex other civilizations peacefully. If there's a way to change that, how customizable is the game? And I think that that's still kind of lacking. Those details are lacking, and maybe we won't get that information until the game comes out. But it'd be great if there's more details along those lines released at some point soon, hopefully. And then generally, I mean, you can see this features a lot of like warfare, so clearly warfare will be a huge part of this game. And then they go into a section here of star bases. And another thing about Stellaris is the fact that all of your ships are built at star bases. So your fleets will be constructed at space stations. So that's not too surprising. And you do start one at your home system, just like in Stellaris. What else is here? The fact that the stations will defend themselves. I mean, the stuff again. If you're familiar with Stellaris, this will all be very, very familiar. You use colony ships to settle new planets, military ships to defend your borders, take more territory from other civilizations. And then I actually got into a chat about this in my last video. Some viewers, Stellaris has in-game threats, and so they did show the Borg in the teaser trailer before the gameplay trailer. So the sort of just the teaser trailer that did feature the Borg. So there was a discussion about if the Borg were the only sort of in-game threat, which would kind of line up with the time period, but then also the Dominion would line up with that as well. So Stellaris has multiple in-game crises, and it'll be interesting to see how they represent that and how many they include. That's definitely a question I have that I would love to see answered. They also ask in this article whether or not we have like from Star Trek 2009 at least, Star Trek 9, sort of the reboot version, the movies. Sorry, movies. Could this be the start of the Romulan star supernova as an in-game crisis in terms of like the whole like all the galaxy needs to scramble to sort of save Romulus or Romulans essentially. And then they also mention Klingon Civil War and the occupation of Bajor by Cardassia. So there's a lot of things they could explore with this. These feel a little too early for the time period. Again, we'll just have to see if they mention anything later press releases about like the Dominion or if there's other quadrants of the galaxy that are represented, anything like that. Clearly the Borg are there. In some element, they might just be marauding sort of civilization, a marauding civilization, or some sort of like, non-negotiable threat that you'll just have to deal with at some point. Sort of, again, will it be in-game crisis, or is it just sort of a nuisance? Hopefully it'll be an in-game sort of crisis, because so much of Star Trek lore has revolved around sort of the Borg invasion of Earth. We had a whole movie based on it, and at least one episode, if not multiple. I would say at least multiple episodes based around Borg, continuum trying to invade Earth, essentially. So it definitely better be an in-game crisis, or at least one of them. Be a little bit disappointed if it's just kind of this, band, represented as a pirate band. But then there's also the question of maybe they do introduce the Dominion as a DLC, so maybe it's not an in-game crisis, or maybe it is, but like through a DLC you're actually able to play them. And who knows, maybe that's part of their mission tree, is becoming the crisis, which Stellaris has. So it'll be really interesting to see and watch this space as time goes on and more stuff is thrown out. Otherwise, let's see. Anything else in this? They do ask about the Gamma Quadrant expansion with the Dominion and the Tholians or the Gorn. Those would be really cool to see. I have a feeling the Gorn will probably be a minor faction. The Tholians are from another galaxy, as far as I remember, or dimension. Linking right now on that. But I believe they are from another galaxy. They are not... they're not very like similar to us at all. So that would be cool to see as well. They wouldn't necessarily. I wouldn't imagine them being like an in-game crisis, but they could be. But yeah, that's it for this article, and this has been most of the in-depth discussion I've seen for this game. We can look at um, we can look at the Steam store and the Paradox page for it. The Steam store, in terms of information, they talk about the faction. One thing that the article didn't talk about were characters. So this does talk about how you are going to be seeing if you take on, like, let's say, the role of the Federation, you'll have the opportunity to recruit iconic captains and officers, including Picard, Janeway, and Cisco, and Data. That's really, really cool. It'd be really great to see. I mean, Stellaris, has leaders and they have generals and admirals and researchers, so you could definitely see that sort of being easy shoe-in for this game as well. And then other factions will have their own set of iconic characters to enlist, such as Galron, Makbar, Garek, more. So that's really cool. That's really cool. I'm looking forward to that. And then ever starships, you'd assume that they would have essentially reskinned ships for the Star Trek universe. And I mean, the rest is kind of just sales kind of talk. And this is the Paradox page, and it goes over basically the same kind of information. I mean, it is your Star Trek story, and there is no set path or singular way to play, whether you wish to take the route of diplomacy, espionage, warfare, a mix of all of these various other approaches. The option is available to you. So that will be interesting, like I said before, to see how that translates to the Federation, because again, the whole founding part of the Federation is the fact that it is peaceful, right? It doesn't expand militarily. So that kind of leads me to think that maybe, it's pre-Federation. Like maybe the Federation isn't even in the game at the start. And yeah, maybe you're like the Earth. You're just the Earth government sort of reaching out and figuring out how to establish the Federation. But I feel like that's, I want to say it's that way, but I mean that's my gut feeling. But at the same time, the fact that there is all of this discussion around the actual Federation tells me that that's like wrong. Like you could even see here, just in terms of the faction selection. I mean, who knows? Maybe you even start with the Federation as the Vulcans and Earth combined. That would be very interesting, especially if like you're a slower expander than the other factions, since they can just conquer. So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to getting all these questions answered. And then continuing back on this page, choose your faction. I mean, that's pretty clear. Core faction, and they just talk about deep and complex strategy. Which, if you played Stellaris, we know exactly what we're getting into. So, yeah, that's kind of all of the information I can find on this game so far. I mean, it was just recently announced, so I expect more stuff to be coming out about it next month and following months after that. They have not released or set a release date. They did say it would be 2023, so that'll be soon. Next 6 months. So I assume they're going to be ramping up more information for us, and I will be very interested. So I'll be watching this space, and I'll be updating you guys as we go along. I hope this was informative for you, and I hope it was helpful for you. It was helpful for me and informative, sort of diving into this. Yeah, so I'm very excited to see how this game ends up, and I will definitely probably be playing it. I'm 90% sure I'll be playing it on release.